find them, never leave a trace. Blockchain, block party, meeting face to face. Best builders in the game, working at their pace. Scrolling through the tickers, wallet loaded, ready. Diving in deep, keep the mindset steady. Builders stacking code like Tetris blocks. Innovators pushing boundaries, no padlocks. Mining for diamonds, secrets in the hash. Bill finding gems, make that portfolio splash. Talking with the legends, future so bright. Crypto dreams at dawn, shine into the night. Smart contracts, decentralized plans. Talking to the master, shaking high-tech hands. Riding on the chain, revolution in.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Late Night on Base. I am your host, Bill the Bull, back at it. The markets are pretty bad, but you know what's not bad? It's our podcast, because we always bring some of the best builders in the game. Today is no different. We have Brexton from Ohara. So before I get into more of that, I have one very important question for you, my friend. It is, how are you doing today?
Doing good. We're gonna say thanks for the intro. We're gonna say, all things considered, with the world imploding right now, I live a very privileged life, so I can't really complain.
I know, right? We're in our little crypto bubble. Things are a lot worse out there, but hopefully everything turns out well worldwide. So, but yeah, listen, man, I'm excited for today's show because to me, I really enjoy talking to builders in the space, like real builders, who are innovating the landscape of not only our little crypto world, but like society as a whole, right? And especially when it comes to AI sector, AI is just a game changer. And what you can do is just mind blowing. And I think in our little world, people are starting to realize what AI is capable, but like the traditional normies, quote unquote, I think do not understand the complexity about it. So we're going to dive deep into that, and you're building on base. So I think it's just the best of both worlds. So let's dive in. But, Brexton, for those that are listening on Spotify, YouTube, maybe they're watching this on Pods Media, one of the, maybe they're on X, and they're coming across Ohara for the very first time. If you don't mind, tell us, what is Ohara?
For sure. Ohara is an app generation platform. And so we're gonna say there's a whole spectrum and market of software generation platforms like code generation. I think it's a pretty big space. It's one of the largest spaces in AI right now. And we take a very opinionated approach where we target specifically non-technical folks. And I know everybody says that, but when you look at like all of the code generation products right now, I think they kind of assume that like you still have some technical knowledge. You know what a database is, you know what auth is, you know what APIs are. But I think like we have a very strong opinion that code generation and app generation should be a consumer social product. And so that means if you're generating apps on your phone and you just enter a prompt, right? You're not going to go to another tab to retrieve API keys from Stripe or Plaid or OpenAI. It should be managed for you. Same with databases, same with auth. And so we try to abstract away as much as humanly possible. And so we take the position that if we're all saying that natural language is going to be the next high-level programming language, we should put our money where our mouth is. And so I think Ohara is the most non-technical friendly software generation platform out there. And we have a nice little twist, which is we're gonna say not only is it a software generation platform, but you can generate your apps, and then you can also launch your own app coins on Base. And so what that tangibly means is that people can create apps and then buy stakes in those apps, right? And so and I could go more into kind of the mechanics about app coins and what they are, but in general, it's I think it's a very cool way for communities to get involved with builders and participate in the financial upside of the apps that they support.
No, absolutely. And I think fundamentally there's a lot to uncover, and I want to dive deeper into it. For those that are, if you're on Spotify, come on YouTube or Pods, you'll be able to stream and see what we're saying. But I think one of the things that stands out with you guys is the simplicity of everything, right? Because we live in a landscape where most people aren't technically savvy. And so the easier you can make it for individuals to use the site, where they don't even feel like they're like doing much except like, everyone knows how to get on a browser and type stuff. if you could just create a simple process, that's the name of the game. And you guys do it very well. And so there's two components that I want to talk about. And I've actually had experience. I don't know if you know this, Brexton, but I did actually create my own app. Did you know that?
No. Which one?
Yes. It's not that good, bro. It's a chess game. I tried to create
It's okay. It's okay. It's
I
okay.
I created. Let's see if I could pull it up actually. So here is Bill. Where would it be under? Here, let's play chess. You see this?
Yep.
Let's play chess. So your boy Bill, everybody, actually tried it out himself. 19 runs, solid. I mean, granted, there's a lot. It's not a finished project. There were some technical speed bumps along the way. So, but I do enjoy the fact that it's easy to create. So let's just talk about, for those viewers who've never done it, talk to us. All right, let's focus not on the stake right now, but let's focus on, or not on the app coin, but let's focus on the game generator. So in theory, again, everyone understands you are able to create an app without zero technical knowledge. Is that right?
Yes. And so so my favorite example is if you say like create a to-do list, right? I think a lot of code generation platforms will basically build the front end for you and then say like, oh, you should connect your own database, right? And like you should go sign up for Firestore or what have you. Whereas for Ohara, if you just type in create a to-do list, our agent will know like, hey, you actually probably need a database and like we'll do it for you, right? And so everything you would need around how to create a to-do list, it would just handle for you. So all you need to do as a non-technical user is just say create a to-do list or create Tetris or create Minecraft, and it'll do it for you.
Well, let's try it. Let's try it out. Let's try it out live on stream.
Yeah.
Why don't we? So you go on the site. Let's just do boom. Create a to-do list. Everyone can do this. You don't know anything about technical software. It doesn't matter. You know how to type. You're good. So it's creating.
Yep.
This assistant is typing. Ooh, what are they typing? I'll create a featured to-do list, applications, all this stuff I don't understand. Let me create. Oh, so it's just doing things. Okay.
Yeah. And so basically the way it works is as a user, you typed in whatever prompt, right? So whatever app you want to create. And then basically the agent starts planning it. So it's playing product manager and says, hey, you want to create a to-do list. It probably needs XYZ features, right? It probably needs for you to input text. It probably needs to store data in a back end. So it's playing product manager. And then it's like planning all of the different pieces that needs to generate code. And so as we're watching it load, it's actively generating the code in the back end, right? And so like for a technical user, you can go to the advanced like configure tab to see the code being generated. But for most non-technical users, you don't need to really, you kind of just need to sit and wait. And great, the to-do list, okay, there's like, oh, great, cool. So it's still loading, but you can see it's like trying to like work its way through a lot of these errors. And it's trying to work through some of the front end. And so hopefully by the end of this, it will be all resolved. But it's streaming all of the errors as it's like progressing and loading and building.
So one of the things though that, I encountered on mine, errors do occur, right? So users need to, and if there are errors, the app can still handle it, right? And you can just kind of like still talk to it and stuff like that, right?
Yes. So anytime you encounter a bug, so anytime you see a big fat error on the screen, or maybe the app isn't working the way you think it's supposed to, you can actually just describe it back into the agent, into the chat, and basically describe like, hey, like it's supposed to do this, but it's not doing this. I'm seeing this error. I don't understand it. You copy and paste it in, and it should fix it. But like in the coming weeks, we're also going to introduce more like very proactive automatic debugging.
Interesting. All right. So I think the to-do list has been created. Let's see.
Try pressing add.
Do podcasts with Ohara.
And then when you refresh the page, it shouldn't disappear. When you refresh the page, like everything you type in should be completely stored. And so like you don't need to handle like storage, for example. It like automatically did that for you.
Interesting. Wow, look at this. And then if I wanted to get a little bit more into it, I could like configure like color schemes and stuff like that, right?
Yes. So you should treat the Ohara agent as like a 24/7 intern that you yell at, like a 24/7 software engineer.
Pay them way below their rates.
Right? Like you don't like let's say you don't like the way it looks, you wanted to add more features. you wanted to add more animations or more designs, you can just iterate with it endlessly.
Very interesting. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Now, if you create this, now let's talk about the app coin itself. Like, is this based on whatever apps are created, then every app has a coin, or how does that work?
So when you're done iterating on your app, and you can always edit it after, and you press the publish button, and
That's
you
good.
publish your app, and it's like ready to go, like ready to be shared publicly. Um, you're ready to publish it like just for the world to see. We give you the option to publish an app coin. So by default, we say yes, but you're more than free to opt out. So an app coin is interesting because for us, we view it as a way for people to basically, for builders to actually just engage their communities more, to actually get their apps more viral and get more eyes on it. For us, it's like a distribution mechanism. But tangibly, the way it works is that it's free. So like it doesn't cost you anything to mint an app coin. An app coin's minted on base. And as a builder, you automatically get 10% of the token supply for free. Like we don't like, you don't need to buy that additional 10%, that initial 10%, but it's vested over 12 months. You don't need to wait 12 months, or you need to wait 12 months for the entire 10% of the supply, but you can claim any portion of that as time goes on, right? And the reason why we do this is that we just want to incentivize builders for like the best case scenario, right? So let's say your to-do list app goes viral, and for some reason the market decides they want to buy and pump your app coin. Great. Like that's awesome, but we want builders to be able to be incentivized to build for a much longer term period rather than just to pump and dump on like the market. And then some really cool things that happen is like, for example, let's say someone remixes your app, right? And so let's say you created this app and you created this app coin, and I remixed your app, right? And I created an app coin. You as the original person automatically receive 3% of my token supply, right? And so there's like actually built-in revenue sharing for people who build on top of your projects. And so like this is like our first step, right? But I think the design space for all the things that we can do for app coins is like actually fairly large. Like what happens when you're able to invite people into your app building session, and you're able to build like invite other community members into your app building session and make it multiplayer, right? There's like really cool revenue sharing mechanisms. And also like the ideal state and like the thing we really want to do with app coins is, hypothetically, the cooler your app is, it should IPO at a higher price, right? And so I think like we want to make it so that pricing discovery is like, it just really rewards high quality apps.
Interesting. So yeah, I mean, listen, I think, and this is kind of like a brand new feature that just rolled out, correct?
Yes, literally last Thursday.
Very cool. So yeah, I think this is one of those things where it's kind of like, with the market downturn, I think people aren't really necessarily pushing their way to buy new different coins from different creators. But I think in a longer term landscape of what you're trying to do, it's going to gain the traction because it's unique and it's new. And yeah, if you have an app that you created that you feel is good and you can buy into someone else's app and, value how properly what the market decides, that's really good. Let me ask you this. What has been the most popular app that has been created on your site? Or forget about maybe popular. What's your favorite one that's been created?
My favorite one. I was gonna say I've seen a lot. I think the current vibe coding meta right now is like 3D, 3JS ones. And so like you're seeing a lot of like visually stunning 3D apps being made. I remember the one that went viral yesterday was a Are We Cooked app. And basically it took in real time data from Perplexity to basically reflect the markets, right? And like just basically decided, hey, like, are we in a bull or a bear market? And so like, again, like one of the coolest things about Ohara to me is that like it allows users to interact with third-party APIs without them needing to go out and pay for those APIs and like sign up for an API key.
Is this one you, by the way? Is this yours, Physics Playground?
Yeah, it was like one of the first ones I made. I need our team to delist this. I don't know why it's on our top.
Okay, we won't show it then, but it's actually on the top.
It's embarrassing.
I mean, it's embarrassing. It's a top 4, bro.
Oh God, I think it's just because it's so old. But yeah, like even that top one is like a space. Oh, actually, KeyCat
Okay,
one
Keycat
was
created
really
one, huh?
cool. It was like someone made like a music game, like just completely prompted like this music game. Um, let's see. Oh, even like one cool app that I remember, we onboarded a legal team at some point, and they were frustrated with how expensive redlining contracting software was. They
Yeah.
were paying 5 figures a month for it, and then they just completely built it on Ohara, which is really
Wow.
cool. And they now can use it for free. Um, and in general, I think that like our thesis behind app coins is like less around like uh who's to say that the our first mechanics for app coins will work?
Yeah.
But the general thesis is, I think in a world where you have 1,000x more software due to AI and code generation, I think the current business models for software are going to break, right? And so right now, I think like the past 2 decades of software have been pretty much been propped up by either ads or like subscription. And what has made software so valuable is like you're able to charge 80% gross margins for software, right? With these recurring subscription models, which are like
Mhm.
super appealing. But then here's like a question that we don't have any answers to, including us, which is like in a world where like you and I can like vibe code 100 apps a day or something, right?
Yeah.
Are we willing to pull out our credit cards to pay for 100 times our software, right? I don't think so, right? Like at least that's our opinion. And even like we're in this really weird world right now where like a lot of AI products, including Ohara, they're getting like novelty product market fit, right? Like users are willing to pull out credit cards just to try out new AI products, but you're not going to pay $20 a month for like Grok, Perplexity,
Sure.
ChatGPT, and Claude over like a 2 year period. And so then I think like in a world where like you have a Cambrian explosion of software, I think we need to kind of really reassess like where economic value from software comes from. And our opinion is that attention is the only thing that will matter, right?
Yeah.
And so like for Ohara, like we only have one job, which is like to make our app creators as viral and as much money as humanly possible. And we think app coins is like one potential step in that direction,
So do you,
right?
yeah, so
Um,
the concept of money, that gonna segue to that one. How do you foresee when Ohara really takes off and to monetize, or how do you foresee creators truly monetize their work? Obviously, one component is the app coin. Is there other ways for people to make money on your site?
Yeah. So for like if so app coins are by default and like I think it's a really magical moment for people to like publish an app without integrating any payments. And like suddenly if their app goes viral or not or even temporarily that they automatically just made money within like a 1 day period. I think that's a magical moment. But
Uh,
if the app creator decides to integrate Stripe, they can, right?
okay.
So if the app creator decides to integrate one-time purchases or like monthly or annual recurring revenue like subscriptions, they're absolutely free to do that. And then also I think ads are like a no-brainer kind of like other revenue stream. But I think like we're more interested in kind of experimenting like again, like I'm just not convinced that subscription models for software will continue to exist in like for at least the majority of
Yeah.
software products in like 2 years.
Interesting. Interesting. So
Yeah.
now I want to turn, one of the big things about my podcast that's a little bit different than most. We do want to put the focus on the project, and that's fantastic and it's important. But one of the things that's really important to me and my viewers is getting to know the team behind it, the people behind it.
Yeah.
Because if the people behind the project are not passionate, why should anyone care? So, and I can tell you really are interested in what you're building, and that's good. But I want to know your why, Braxton. So, first of all, tell me, what causes you to be like, you could probably have chosen a million things on chain and Web3 to work on, but you chose to build Ohara specifically with the AI space. So, what's your why? What motivates you to wake up day in and day out and give it your all for this project?
Yeah. I'm gonna say, ironically, the on-chain stuff is probably like out of my top five, probably on the lower side. And I'll rationalize it, I promise. So basically, like I spent my entire career in software, and also like I grew up with like the 2000s internet, right? So the 2000s internet was super fun. This was before software was commercialized, right? And I think like as we entered the late 2000s and 2010s, I think people realized they could make money off of software. And like software kind of got very rigid, very complex, very boring. But and then I think one of the more magical things that we've seen post the introduction of ChatGPT and AI is code generation. And like one of the coolest things about code generation is that you're seeing a wave of like non-technical people enter, actually building software products. And they're unconstrained by like the mental frameworks that like technical people have around building software, right? Like a non-technical person doesn't think like, oh, I need to create auth or databases, or I need to like hook up these APIs. They just think I want to create a really cool game, or I want to create like this thing that I would use, right? So I think we're going to see like much more creativity. And I think that like creating digital experiences, like we say this a lot internally, which is software is a new form of content. I do think that you've had like 2 decades of like non-technical people standing on the sidelines being like, I wish I could create X, Y, and Z, and they couldn't, and now they can, right? And then when you start thinking about like, and I think that's just for the traditional AI side, right? And then we start thinking about like why crypto, why AI in crypto, and why base and all of these things. I have a very strong opinion here, which is like, I actually don't, I disagree with the majority, like 99% of AI and crypto metas. They don't really make sense to me. I think the strongest meta you could have for AI and crypto is using AI to help people build way more products, right?
Sure.
And we've been hearing this for every cycle in crypto, which is like every cycle you hear the same thing, which is we need more end user products. And we've seen so many new developments on the infrastructure side. But like every cycle we pray for like more products. And now we finally have God at our fingertips, right?
Yeah.
And so like, and they don't need to be hardcore, like the majority of AI, like the majority of crypto products don't need to be hardcore smart contract products, right? They don't need to be hardcore DeFi protocols. They can be very fun end user consumer products. And I think like one of the big struggles for crypto historically is that like the smart contract side, the very like all of that stuff is so technically difficult to build on, right? But what happens when that like to the point where teams have to spend the majority of their time doing smart contract engineering rather than product building? But what happens when you're able to accelerate both now, right? And so code generation allows it so that people can build all of that hardcore smart contract stuff faster while also building all of the actual end user products faster. And I have a very strong belief that like, look, like if we are able to make it so that people build 1,000 times more products in crypto, and even if 1% make it, right? I think that's a huge net benefit, right? Like that's like way more products that actually hit mainstream and get adoption and hit product market fit than currently exists. And like crypto's like this very specific, unlike other verticals like healthcare, legal, or finance, crypto's very developer heavy. Like it's a very specific developer niche, right? And so like I think we have one mission, which is like we should bring as many builders on chain as possible. And historically, builders were people who understood Solidity and Rust and like knew how to build smart contracts. But now it can be anybody. It could be your cousin who like doesn't have a CS degree, right? And like, and I think that's awesome. Like I think that's incredible.
It really is. It really is. It's just the world's changing and evolving, and it's now opening up opportunities for others to embark. I would say some people probably might take a different approach and think like, "Oh my God, now there's more competition." But hey, that's just kind of the nature of the beast.
But it's going to happen, and I think like that's like a natural end state, which is like you're already starting to see a lot of slop due to AI on the internet, on Twitter, and all of these different things. And like the natural end state for all of this in a world where software becomes content and like becomes commoditized, then I think all of us subconsciously know the same conclusion, which is the only thing that will matter is like distribution and attention, or like specifically like how good of a brand can you build around yourself as a builder, right? But like the really cool thing about this is that software has always been about distribution, right? It's just historically has been really hard to build software. And like now it's literally just about how creative you are. And I would bet that like the majority of the world who isn't technical are more creative than the current set of developers.
I think so. They can tap into their creative side. What's probably held them back though is the technical aspect, but now AI is taking it away.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens. So Braxton, my last question for you before we wrap it up is talk to me 1 year from now. I want you to picture this. Ohara, 1 year from now, what would you like to see? Where are you guys at? Any accomplishments? What does 1 year look like for Ohara?
So we have a very clear success state internally that we repeat all a ton, which is Ohara only wins if our app creators get as viral and make as much money as possible, right? Like we want to make our app creators celebrities. We want to make them like have the new generation of content creators. And so like everything about Ohara, everything that we're about to release the next 2 weeks, the next 2-3 months is all about basically amplifying all of our app creators and kind of enabling them to like increase the quality of their app outputs. Selfishly, I have a very selfish goal for Ohara too. I want us to be the best end user consumer product in crypto by the end of this summer, right?
Wow.
And that's a very lofty goal because I also admire a ton of projects in crypto. I admire Moonshot a ton and Vector and Pump.fun. And Clout, I think all of those are like really high quality projects. But and like I think it would be really cool. I think Base is a growing ecosystem. I think it would be really cool to increase the amount of developers who are non-technical in the space.
Yeah. Amazing. So, my friend, any last words that you have for the Ohara community or anyone watching this show right now?
Yeah. Ohara kind of broke a bit post-launch, so we're actively fixing all of the highest priority issues that everyone's reporting to us. And so the only thing I wanted to say is our team's working hard to address everybody's feedback. And so please stay tuned for the next 2 weeks because we are shipping some massive updates.
Braxton, pleasure. Thank you for coming on the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me, dude. This was a blast.
Everyone, if you're on Spotify, head over to YouTube. On YouTube, we're going to make sure to have Ohara's, all their information, their app, their X account information, so you can learn more about them. And you'll also have late night and basis information. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. It literally costs you nothing. It helps me produce more banger content on the daily. Until next time, everyone, this has been a banger. Braxton from Ohara and your boy Bill. Cheers.